Hello everyone, I'm Suzanne Hamilton, Director of the Ascension Counseling Center. We provide free and low-cost mental health and substance abuse outpatient services to residents of Ascension Parish. You're watching the Ascension Counseling Center's video newsletter, where we talk about the services we offer and how you can benefit from them. Our goal is to cover topics we hope will give you some helpful tips for happier and healthier living and better relationships. That means thinking about changing the way we've done things in the past and embracing new ideas and starting new habits to improve our lives. In this episode, we'll talk with Ryan Schutte, a licensed professional counselor, about readiness to change. Our show starts right after this message.
Ascension Parish, a parish steeped in tradition. It's a place where generations of families have continued to enjoy a lifestyle that centers on community living and community celebration. It's a place where we care about each other and we care about ourselves. For more than 50 years, the Ascension Counseling Center has continued the tradition of helping individuals and families change behaviors and change lives. The Ascension Counseling Center.
Hello, I'm Lisa Weber Curry, Manager of Clinical Services at Ascension Counseling Center. I'm here with Ryan Schutte, and today's topic is a readiness to change. How are you today, Ryan?
I'm pretty well, and yourself?
I'm good. You ready to get started?
I think so.
Okay. Tell us something about readiness to change.
Well, a lot of people ask, why is change so difficult? And I think for the first part, we have to admit to ourselves that sometimes change really can be difficult and can be hard. And this puts it into perspective for us that we all struggle with change.
Okay.
For most people out there, we would prefer predictability, even at the expense of taking a gamble for things to get better.
Okay.
There are a lot of risks involved with changing. We get into these patterns of our lives where things are very comfortable, and they may not be great.
Okay.
But on the other hand, if you have to exert a lot of energy or do a lot of things to make your life better, some people sit there and think, well, if I waste all this energy or work really hard, maybe it doesn't happen, and then where am I stuck? What's going to happen to me? So there are a lot of things that we have to prepare ourselves for when we get ready to make a change in our lives. And, that can be one of them, to really begin to remind ourselves, hey, making this change in our life or our lives, it may be a little difficult, and that's okay, and we're not alone. There are hundreds, thousands of people all over the parish doing different things on a daily basis to change their lives, which can be wonderful.
So it sounds like what I hear you saying is not only is change difficult for some people, but there's that fear.
Mm-hmm.
I know what I have where I am now. It may not be the greatest, but it's comfortable for me, and I've learned to live with it. What's going to be on the other side if I change?
Exactly.
Okay.
And that exact point is where we meet most people when they come to counseling with us. And there's usually even a stage before that where some people don't even realize there's a problem. These are the people who come to our counseling office and say, well, my wife sent me here. She says I have a problem with anger. Or they're the people who say, I'm here to fix my wife, and she's not even in the room. So as we'll get to in a couple minutes, even change, we know there's something odd going on. We're getting these consequences in our life that we're not really happy with. But on the other hand, we may not even know exactly what the problem is. We may be in counseling thinking the problem's one thing, and then suddenly we're looking up and, hey, it's not really this, it's really something else.
Okay. So people struggle with making a connection to why when you always do what you've always done, you're still getting the same results.
Exactly.
So there's a struggle. But my understanding is that to change, there are several stages related to that. And maybe if people better understood those changes, they'll be more willing to go through them.
Yeah, exactly. So when we talk about stages of change, we as counselors, we like to put everything in fancy models so we can understand what people are going through in a better way. And we do have a model that we look at in our minds that kind of says, okay, where is this person at in terms of the change they want to make in their lives? And the first stage is a fancy term. It's called pre-contemplation. And what this kind of boils down to is that we don't even know there's a change to be made. We just know there are a lot of consequences going on, and we don't like those consequences, but we're not really sure exactly where these consequences are coming from, or maybe we're not ready to accept where they're coming from.
Okay.
You know, this is for people who may not be happy with their marriage, and they're depressed, and they don't put those two things together, or they, you know, like I said earlier, they think someone else has the problem.
Right.
Or they're not really to accept their part, ready to accept their part in it yet.
Okay.
And so that's kind of the first stage. And so if we look at it like a scale, you know, one side of the scale is all the way on the ground, and the other is kind of up in the air, you know.
Okay.
I maybe want change a little bit, but you know what? I'm not that motivated for it yet.
Okay. So change is starting to come into their mind, but not quite there yet, but it's in the back of my mind. I'm thinking about it. Maybe. So I'm pre-contemplating change. So
They
what
may
would
not
be
be
the next
motivated for
stage
it.
then? Okay.
The next stage is called contemplation, exactly what you
Okay.
said. And this is when we've got a 50-50 shot. You know,
Okay.
it's the pros and the cons of changing are just equal on the scale. And you see people come into counseling and they're like, well, I want it, but I'm not really sure how much I'm really ready to fight to get it. And so you see people, they'll waffle kind of back and forth on the issue, and we have another term for it. It's called ambivalence. It's like being on the fence. You feel both ways about it. And people come into sessions with us, and they're bothered by their own being on the fence.
Okay.
And it's important to remember that being on the fence is a natural part of the progression of changing. As you know, sometimes during my lunch break, I'll go jog. But it took me so long to get to that point, you know, where I actually was taking action. There were many days sitting there thinking, do I really want to do that? Or do I really want to go around the corner to that place where we get the really good hamburgers that are probably, you know, good caloric intake?
Okay.
That tastes good. This is going to hurt a little bit.
Right.
Which do I want more? I don't know.
Yeah. So how much are you willing to put up with what it takes to change and put out that extra effort to change?
Exactly.
Okay, so we move beyond pre-contemplation, contemplation. What's our next stage?
And this is preparation. This is when the scale kind of moves a little bit more towards taking action, and preparation. You'll see someone in preparation, and what you'll notice is they are moving the environment around, getting themselves ready to make change. You know, this is when we have, you know, drinking issues, and we have a lot of friends and family who are drinking. They're starting to say, okay, you know, I need to tell these people, hey, I'm not going to be able to hang around you for a while.
Okay.
Or they're, you know, if they're giving up smoking, which you do the smoking cessation classes sometimes, you know, they're sometimes often plan a date. Here's my date for quitting, and until that point, these are the things I'm going to put in place along that line. So when that date comes, the change I'm going to make is going to be as comfortable as I can make it.
Right.
So.
Okay.
And then, usually, if that goes well, people will move into action, which is a period of sustained practice of the change they want to make. It's the actual jogging, or or the not smoking, or doing something differently. You know, thinking about things in different ways, using our emotions in different ways, different behaviors, and that pretty much goes on for a while, and then eventually when those behaviors come second nature to us, we go into maintenance.
Okay.
Which is when it's not so much of a conscious effort to make those actions stay in our lives. This is the point in which I was saying jogging, when it's just natural for you to get up and do your jogging and your exercise.
It doesn't take any thought. It
doesn't-
has become part of your daily routine.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it's comfortable. And the last one, you know, we have that when I say this word, people usually think, oh, that's the horrible one, which is relapse. But we don't look at it that way. Most people see relapsing as a negative thing.
Well,
But-
tell us exactly what relapse is.
Oh, relapse
in these
is
stages.
when we kind of go back on our plan
Okay.
or go back to our behaviors from before, which is entirely normal because you think we've been acting a certain way for so many years.
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly we make this big change and we get it going for a couple months, and then, suddenly those tendencies will come over and we might backslide a little bit.
Okay.
But we can learn wonderful things every time we kind of fall off the horse.
Okay.
We learn how to stay on a little bit better instead of berating ourselves, going, "Oh, I did it again. How could I have ever done that to myself?"
Right. Which is what so many people do.
Right, and
Okay.
most people then stay off the horse because thinking that way about our success of 6 months of keeping something going isn't often a healthy way of looking at it. But if we think, hey, I fell off the horse because yesterday, instead of going for the jog like I had planned, I broke my pattern and I did this instead. When I come to it next time, how can I be ready?
Okay.
You can learn a lot. In fact, you can probably learn more from relapse if you look at it in that kind of objective way than you've learned through the entire process thus far.
Okay. So you need to remain objective through all stages because subjectivity brings you back to the blame game.
Right.
And it makes it harder for you to get back on that horse and try again. So your suggestion I'm hearing is review it, see where you went wrong, make the changes, and then jump right back into your positive pattern of doing things.
Exactly. And it can really help most people to track their behaviors on a daily basis up to that point, because humans in general have a negative frame of bias in their minds. It keeps us protected.
Right.
If you're out walking outside and it's pitch black and you hear a weird creaking sound behind you, your mind naturally goes to, I'm in trouble.
Right.
And that's to save you.
Right.
But it often then translates into things that aren't so helpful, like you fall off the horse when you're jogging every day, and then you start going, well, I'm just never going to get it. And that can really just keep you stuck.
Yeah.
So having it written down, hey, look at that. I've been jogging consistently for 6 months now, and I just had 1 week where I fell off. Well, things have been going objectively
Right.
very well. But that one time, that one difficult day, tends to throw our whole minds into, doubt.
A tailspin. Yeah.
So having it, like you said, really on paper, where you can see, like, in my office I have my degree and my license, because that reminds me of what I've put into getting where I am today. And not that I need that to come to work every day, but when I have that tough day where I'm sitting there going, what am I doing?
Yeah.
It reminds me, hey, I am prepared.
Yeah.
I have done the work. I've gotten this far, and I can do it.
Yeah. It gives you that sense of accomplishment. If I've accomplished this, then I can accomplish more. One of the things I see when people struggle with change is the fact that their environment doesn't change around them.
Exactly.
So how do I make changes if my environment isn't changing? So I think one of the things, and I heard you mention a little bit about it, is you got to get your family, your friends involved. Do you think having an accountability partner would help also?
Very much so. It's very hard. We, at Ascension Counseling, we do substance abuse treatment, and I had been involved in the groups for almost 2.5 years. And I would say, hands down, when people struggled, it was because their environment wasn't well suited for them to be successful.
Okay.
They were still hanging out with family members who were using, and it became difficult because they were coming to group and they would leave with big smiles on their face and saying, hey, I think I've got this. And then they'd go home and they'd be in, an environment where they had always been, where these behaviors had really just kind of developed. So it really is important when you want change to be sure that you let as many people that you're comfortable with,
Right.
know about the change you're going to make, definitely have somebody who is an accountability partner. It's even
Okay.
better if you can have someone who'll go through the change with you.
Definitely.
As we know, research shows if someone is willing to go and push you to go to the gym or for your
Yeah.
jog, or is calling saying, "Hey, did you smoke that cigarette today?"
Exactly.
That
Yeah.
that you are more willing not to do those things, and because we all like approval.
Yes.
It's just human nature. We all like kudos, and we all like to feel good. And when someone we know is going to call us and really kind of provide that objective measure for
Yeah.
us, can really be helpful. If you don't have those people in your lives, think about getting a counselor, because a counselor can really help you in that respect. They can be there every week saying, where are you moving towards your goals today? And they can objectively step back and say, okay, well, you're telling me your goal is to lose weight.
Okay.
But on the other hand, you're also telling me, you really like Little Debbie's cookies, or, how do those two things fit together? And they can do it in a loving way so that there's not judgment, that you
Right.
really have someone who's stepping back and encouraging you to engage in the behaviors you want to engage in, and to kind of give up some of those things that are really holding you back.
Yeah.
But-
And it sounds like you would also have in a counselor someone that helps you learn how to approve yourself. Because I think self-approval is a really great place to start, because you're not always going to get that outside approval. And sometimes when we're changing, is this something you've noticed? We'll get the opposite. We'll get people saying, oh, she's not doing good, he's not doing good. I know when he leaves here, he's still smoking, or he's gone back on drugs, or he's not working the exercise and nutrition plan. So learning to approve yourself and
Exactly.
recognize your accomplishments, would you say that would benefit our clients as well?
And that's a great point. And even if you are doing the things that you should be doing, like we know when people stop smoking, they can feel a little agitated at times. And people will say, I liked you better when you were smoking,
Okay.
right?
Right,
And so
exactly.
it really helps to have a counselor and who can help you develop that, sense of, inside approval, saying, you know what, but this is a stage and I'm going to pass it, and I can get past this. If you tell yourself that you can't do something, the one thing I tell all my clients is your brain is geared up. It wants to please you. That's what it really wants to do. It wants to please you. It wants to protect you. It wants to keep you happy. So if you tell your brain, I don't think I can do this, your brain will make it happen. Sometimes
Right.
it feels odd to say, I really can do this, or talk to yourself that way. But like any other change, it's just a matter of repeating it over and over and making yourself come to believe it over time. You see yourself doing it, and then you put it next to that belief of I can't do it, and one of them has to go. And usually it's the belief, not the experience, that goes.
I think that's great. I think this is a great way to wrap up the segment. You've taken us through the stages of changes. You've given us your last thoughts on we've got to have more positive self-talk. We've got to let that self-talk outweigh the negative self-talk. And negativity will rear its head sometimes, but we have to continue with the positive self-talk and continue with the actions.
That's
Okay.
it.
Well, thanks a lot, Mr. Ryan. You've been very helpful.
Thank you.
Okay.
We see a lot of children that are actually being raised by their grandparents. There are so many resources that we can help you with to help you figure out what to do with this child, to help this child understand what his goal in life is. Having one little boy come in and hate his life and have a scowl on his face and not want to be there, and then a month or so later befriend him and come in and smile at me and talk to me and give me a hug, which those children don't do that very often. So by having that hug rewards me more than any paycheck that a person could give me. It's more fulfilling than anything else that job could possibly give me, by seeing a patient or a child or an adult's life completely turned around.
And that's it for this episode. Thanks for being with us. Please remember that Ascension Counseling Center is here by way of your support. We're a department of Ascension Parish government, and as such, we're all parish employees. We're funded by a 2 mil property tax millage, which means that $2 from every $1,000 you pay in property taxes goes to support our agency so that we can provide free and low-cost mental health and substance abuse outpatient services to residents of Ascension. We have one location in Gonzales at 1112 Southeast Ascension Complex, which is off Worthy Road across from the courthouse and next door to the health unit. You can reach us by calling 225-450-1016. You can also find us on the web at www.ascensionparish.gov/MH and also on Facebook at Ascension Counseling Center. Thanks for your support, and until next time, from everyone at the Ascension Counseling Center, thank you for watching.